Back to Kasie, D.C. This Thursday, Valentine's Day, marks 1 year since the high school shooting in Parkland, Florida. 17 students and staff members were shot and killed that day, making it one of the deadliest mass shootings in modern U.S. history. Freshman Democratic Congresswoman Lucy McBath of Georgia has her own deeply personal experience with gun violence. McBath lost her teenage son, Jordan Davis, to gun violence back in 2012. And this coming Saturday, the 16th, Jordan would have turned 24 years old. His death is what moved her to run for office. This line from a tweet during her campaign summed up her candidacy. "I intend to show the good people of Georgia 6 what a tough, determined mother can do." Joining me now is Congresswoman Lucy McBath. She is also the vice chairman of the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with what wasn't said at the State of the Union. The President of the United States not talking about gun violence even in a year when it was ever more clear that this is still an epidemic across America. What do you say to the President?
Well, I think there was a huge oversight simply because we know that the violent culture that we're living in, that no one is immune to it. And we have over 100 people in this country that continue to die senselessly every single day. And I kept sitting there expecting to hear something about gun violence prevention or the state of the culture, and he never did. And I thought that was a huge oversight on his part, particularly because I intend to make sure that I'm working on the front lines of this issue while in Washington.
I want to ask you about that. I mean, I've covered this issue as a reporter on Capitol Hill from the time of the terrible tragedy at Sandy Hook, when there was some momentum to try to do something about the gun laws, and it failed in the wake of that terrible tragedy. What have you learned since coming to Congress about how this might unfold in the Democratic House, and whether anyone thinks there is a realistic opportunity to make changes to our gun laws?
Well, I think we're in a very interesting time in our nation right now when, for the first time in about a decade, we're actually now having hearings. We're having hearings that I get to sit in on with the Judiciary Committee, hearings on gun violence, and that hasn't happened for some time. So I think that just really serves as an indication as to the movement that we're building and the consciousness of the country that people are no longer going to stand by and watch these kind of senseless tragedies happen every single day. Over 100 people a day are continuing to die. And I think having these kinds of hearings, and the hearings are packed. I myself sat on the other side. I too can remember being in the hearings and judiciary bill markups, being a mother, being a victim of gun violence, and watching over and over again how the United States government, our legislators were not willing to pass some safety measures in our existing gun laws. So now that I'm actually sitting on the other side, helping to enforce these policies, definitely change is coming.
You're from Georgia, which is historically a red state. There's a lot of rural areas that are particularly conservative, but it's one that is clearly trending towards more purple. How do you argue, or how do you explain your position to people who are from the rural parts of your state who say that there shouldn't be more gun restrictions? How do you reassure them about their gun rights while still arguing your position?
Well, I always must preface that I am a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. My father was a hunter. My oldest nephew was a sniper in the Marines. So I am not against people being able to arm themselves and protect themselves and their territories. I want people to be able to hunt. I want people to be gun enthusiasts. It's not about that. But with owning guns comes great responsibility. Responsibility to use your guns in the correct way. And so that's what I always try to tell people, is that I want you to be able to use your guns. I'm not against you using them, but we just have to have some common sense measures placed in our existing gun laws to balance being able to use our guns responsibly.
Your son, Jordan, was, of course, lost to gun violence, and it would be his birthday here coming up. Yeah. What do you hope that other parents would take away from your loss, and what do you hope George, as he perhaps sees his mother now in Congress?
Well, I hope that he would be proud of me, and I'll actually be working on his 16th birthday, because I know that everything that I wanted him to be is what drives me now to continue to work on behalf of others. And what I want parents to know is that they have to have some sense of hope, that the culture is the way that it is right now because it has run amok basically for the last 25, 30 years. It's been unchecked. But now there's a whole movement of people that are galvanized to make sure that we're protecting our families. I do want them to have some sense of hope. There are a lot of gun sense champions that are right here on the Hill working with me now. So we are diligently working on their behalf. I'm so excited to be on Judiciary because Chairman Nadler, I think, is really working diligently to make sure that we continue to have these discussions and to hold the country accountable for making sure that we're keeping people safe.
Congresswoman Lucy McBath, thanks very much for being here tonight.
Thank you.